So I posted a video earlier talking about the perfect victim, and then almost immediately Rebecca Yarros exemplified the exact kind of bullshit rhetoric that I'm talking about. If you didn't see that video, let me sum it up for you really quickly. Essentially, I'm asking us to rethink, re-examine our impulse to solely focus on children and perfect victims in situations of oppression, because all people who are oppressed are victims, not just the children. And what we do when we only focus on children is we are dehumanizing the populace as a whole. Every Palestinian deserves life, every Palestinian deserves dignity, every Palestinian deserves freedom. And those adults that you refuse to look after, the ones you refuse to care for, the one whose lives you refuse to condemn being slaughtered, those were children. The children that you are trying to defend now, they grow up into people if they are allowed to survive. And the fact that a birthday, an arbitrary number, makes it so that you no longer care about these children is, again, dehumanizing. So let's get into this. This post says children are not collateral damage. And apparently, originally, this post used to be even worse than it is in its present iteration. So I shudder to think what it used to look like if this is the edited and improved version. Now, there are several things wrong with this post, and quite frankly are pretty alarming about this post. And the reason that I want to talk about it specifically is that my employer and some of my friends in the bookish community liked this post, which means that I don't think that you realize all of the ways in which this is actually incredibly harmful and diverts attention from the source of violence, one, and two, from the humanization of Palestinians as a whole. Let's start by breaking this down and discussing all the ways that this is harmful and damaging. Children are not collateral damage. On its face value, of course, you agree, right? But when we think about it within context, this is incredibly dismissive. Over 3,000 Palestinians have been murdered by Israel's indiscriminate bombing of Gaza. What is happening currently is a genocide. That doesn't just affect children. No. 3,000 people, a third of whom are children. But that means that 2/3 of the people who have been murdered are not children. What you do with this kind of language is you are completely erasing the lives, the struggles, the violence committed against all of the people who are not children, who still deserve life, who still deserve dignity. What this does is it signals that people who are not children deserve what is happening to them. That because they are adults, for some reason, that crime, that violence, that inhumane aggression is okay, is justified. We're not gonna talk about that here. Said it before, and I will say it again, I understand why people fixate on children, but they are not the only ones being killed. And they are not the only ones who deserve justice. Every single Palestinian deserves life. Now, the second issue with this is that it just says children. It doesn't specify Palestinian children. And it goes on within the rest of the post to say, I abhor war in every form. It has all of this wishy-washy, indefinite language that actually helps nobody. When you have an oppressor and an oppressed, you need unequivocal language siding with the oppressed. None of this, oh, I condone violence, oh, I abhor war. That doesn't do anything but virtue signal as if you're on some kind of a moral high ground, when realistically, baby, you are below the earth when it comes to morality. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is okay, because we should never be doing that, but I do think that it is incredible how much self-victimization is happening in this post. I want y'all to exist outside of yourselves for a minute. The world doesn't revolve around you. The reason that people are asking you to speak up about genocide is because they appreciate your work and they want to know that the people that they are supporting with their money are not supporting genocide. So instead of sitting here going, wow, how dare you ask me about my opinion about genocide, you should be using your platform and your resources to support the people who are being affected, the victims in this situation, Palestinians. I think it's disgusting, quite frankly, that you would say, this isn't taking a both sides stance, this is a human rights stance. You are taking a both sides stance. You are. This is a situation of genocide. You cannot say, oh, I'm on the side of human rights. Clearly you aren't. As if it couldn't get worse. Likening book translating to book banning. Just say you have no principles. If an occupying body is able to profit from your work, where are those human rights you talked about? Where are those human rights, babe? Sally Rooney has my utmost respect in this regard because she refused to allow an Israeli publisher to translate her books. Didn't refuse to allow them to be translated into Hebrew, mind you, just refused for an Israeli publisher to do so. I will get into another video about why I hate the language of innocence and why it's completely toothless and not related to any kind of genuine political ideal. But again, that's for another video. I am so fucking sick of having to see this kind of, one, both sides bullshit, and two, perfect victim bullshit.